Good morning everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are on the sunny balcony. This is my in-laws balcony and we will be planting fall planters already. I know it's a bit early because probably most of you still have your summer planters, your summer compositions, but if you watched the previous video that I recorded on this balcony, you will know that my parents-in-law went on holidays and during that time no one was taking care of their garden. So all the plants died. There was nothing left. So since the end of July they have absolutely no planters, no seasonal flowers on the railings here. So that's why we will plant fall compositions early. And this way also I can show you some beautiful fall plants. Maybe you will find some ideas and inspiration on what you can plant on your balcony this fall. Okay, but before we jump into today's video, just wanted to mention really quickly that I have a playlist called Fall Balcony Garden. On that playlist you will find a lot of videos related to fall balcony gardening. You will find some ideas on some fall compositions in wicker baskets and such. You will find a video from this balcony from last year and you can see what I planted in these railing pots last year. I called the video 3 season planters because I planted them for fall, winter and spring. I planted some spring bulbs underneath, which I'm not gonna do this year because it's still a bit too early and a bit too warm to be planting spring bulbs. On the playlist I also have a video called, I think it was 10 plants that you can plant on your balcony this fall. If you're searching for some ideas and inspiration for your balcony garden for this fall, check out that playlist. I think you can find something interesting in there. Okay, so let's start with today's video. This morning I went to the garden center. Wasn't sure if I'm gonna find anything yet because it's the end of August, so it's still a bit early for fall plants. So I went to one garden center, they had nothing, went to another, and luckily they had a really great choice of fall plants already. So while I was at the garden center, I created 2 different compositions because I never know what I'm gonna plant. I need to see the plants before and then I kind of come up with a composition. So I created one composition in more like pinkish, silvery, green tones. I really liked it and I generally would prefer to plant something like this because those pinkish blooms look really cute in fall, and then those silvery and green leaves, that makes a really nice transition into winter. But then in that composition I used ornamental cabbage and some heathers, and then I thought, well, these are really common plants. That's something what everyone else would plant in the fall. You know, ornamental cabbages, heaths and heathers, these are like the most common fall plants. So I thought, well, let's get a little bit more creative. Let's find some maybe more unusual plants, something that isn't so obvious. Because obviously I want to share with you some new ideas, something more uncommon, not something that someone has already done before. So I picked some really warm, really like hot and spicy composition. I think this will look really great in the fall. So I have really beautiful plants with me right now. Let me show you what I bought and I will say a few words about each one of those plants. So let's start with this first plant, the tallest. This will be our thriller, so the tallest plant in the composition. And we have a beautiful ornamental grass, carex grass. I am a huge fan of ornamental grasses. I think they are just such a beautiful accent. I love to plant them on their own, just, you know, one plant per container and just tuck them in between my flowers and my other plants because they add a lot of movement. They elevate and make your plant display look more airy and give them a bit of a whimsical look. So carex grasses are great. They are very winter resistant. They have evergreen foliage. They are really low maintenance. Here we have carex commons bronze form. So it's more of an upright growing carex, which would be great as a thriller in our composition. Next we have heathers. So as I said, heathers are really common plants for fall, but I picked one that looks a little bit more unusual. So heathers and heaths, they are very common plants for fall. Heathers are Calluna species and heaths are Erica species. People often confuse the two or they use the names interchangeably, but it doesn't really matter. So here we have a heather, Calluna Sea Star, beautiful like chartreusey, green chartreusey yellow color. So this will keep this color throughout the winter, very winter hardy, also doesn't require much maintenance. They do prefer to have slightly acidic soil, When you plant them permanently, when you want to grow them as perennial plants, which they are, then it's best to plant them in ericaceous potting mix, so acidic potting mix. But in a seasonal composition, that doesn't really matter all that much. On the floor here we have a beautiful trailing plant, Muhlenbeckia. Muhlenbeckia is a great plant, again, on its own. I have one planted in a container on my balcony. I just grow it on its own and it trails beautifully. It keeps the same kind of look throughout the year. It's quite winter hardy, but if you have a very harsh winters, the foliage may die, but the roots are pretty resistant. So even if the foliage dies, don't get rid of the plant, keep it, because it's most likely gonna come back in the spring. Muhlenbeckias also are very low maintenance, very easy to grow. The only thing that they don't like is wind. They do not like to be exposed to strong winds. My terrace is very windy, so I keep my Muhlenbeckia on the floor, kinda in between plants, to protect it from harsh winds. But other than that, beautiful plant on its own and as a trailing plant in a composition. Moving on, we have heucheras. Everyone knows heucheras. They are really great perennial evergreen plants. The darker the leaves, the more sun they can handle. The lighter the leaves, the less sun they can handle. So those more green, yellowish heucheras are better suited for shade, and the darker leafed heucheras are better for full sun or partial shade. They produce beautiful bloom stalks early summer, and especially this one, because this one is called Heuchera Little Cutie Blondie, has a really cute bloom stalk. It has like kind of blonde-ish flowers. They attract pollinators. They are really awesome, as I said, on their own and in a composition, very winter hardy, evergreen foliage. Now moving on to more uncommon plants, here is one interesting plant. I have grown it on my balcony a couple of years ago as a seasonal plant, but it is a perennial plant. The plant is called Hotuinia cordata, a bit of a tricky name to remember or to pronounce. So what is so interesting about this plant, first of all, it's a gorgeous plant, right? Variegated leaves, kind of ivy-like leaves with a pink tinge. This plant is edible. It can be used in cooking. It has very strong aroma, it has very strong flavor, but it's also commonly used in skincare products because it has actually like anti-redness, anti-irritation, calming effects. And it's also a beautiful ornamental plant. Next we have just a few common classic violas. Violas and pansies are also great plants to plant in the fall. And the last plant here is kind of our star of this entire composition, something that I saw and I thought, well, I have to make a composition with it. I have never planted these cute little peppers in a composition. They are edible, but in this composition we are gonna use them as an ornamental plant. It's a Capsicum annum. It's not very winter hardy. It can tolerate temperatures down to like 0 degrees Celsius, but below the fruit will probably drop and the plant will die. So it's mostly a decorative plant for fall. Okay, so now I'm gonna fill the planters with soil. In summer, the quality of your potting mix really matters. It has to be a really good quality potting mix, it has to be water retentive, it has to hold on to nutrients, but in fall it doesn't matter all that much because plants are not really growing much, they don't require a lot of nutrients, so even classic, ordinary, multi-purpose potting mix will do just fine. If you guys don't have any planters on your balcony yet, I mean the planters like hanging planters, and you are searching to buy some, I really don't recommend this type of planters. I personally dislike to plant in planters like this. I mean, obviously it comes down to preference and what you want to do with them, but these type of planters are really tricky because they have this big thing in the center, obviously where the railing goes, but this takes up so much space and it forces you to plant your plants in 2 rows. You can't plant anything in the center, so you can't have like a really cute composition with a centerpiece because you can't plant anything in the center. You are forced to plant your plants in 2 rows, which then obviously affects how your composition will look. Also, they are actually quite shallow. They look big, but there is not a lot of space to plant in them, because when you think about this, this already takes up so much space, like 1/3 of the space, and you only have this very narrow tunnel, let's say, so you can only put soil until there, so that really doesn't leave a lot of space for a lot of room for your plant roots. So I'm not a huge fan of these kind of planters, and I wouldn't recommend them. It's better to buy a classic planter and then to buy some metal supports and to place that planter on those metal supports rather than to buy these that you hang on top of the railing. Okay, you guys, it's done. Now I just have to water everything, but before I water and before I make a big mess, let me show you how the planters turned out. Okay, so here they all are. I must say I really like how they turned out. I love fall and I love fall planters. I love creating fall planters. I don't enjoy summer planters nearly as much as I enjoy fall and winter planters. For some reason I just love the plants, fall plants, better than summer plants. I don't know, but just really like the mix of colors and textures. Okay, you guys, so I hope that you enjoyed today's video and you found some ideas for your own balcony garden. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye!